We're on.
PowerPoint?
Huh?
PowerPoint? Do you want to put the PowerPoint up?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Hazel, and this is,
Hi, I'm Corey Hoover.
we both teach in the humanities department, and we are here today in the CTI. So if you like the CTI, like what you're seeing around here, give us a thumbs up in the chat area.
It's not a thumbs up. They don't have a thumbs up.
So go to where the open chat is, down at the bottom on the right side as you're looking. There you go. Give us a thumbs up if you like where we are.
Center for Teaching and Innovation.
That's right. This is the very new Center for Teaching and Innovation. Yeah, right? Doesn't it look great? Kind of Corey and I look like we're sitting here like newscasters,
But leaning away.
but leaning away at the same time. So, all right. Wonderful. Thank you for the thumbs up. We are super excited to be here today. So, I'm going to get started here and kind of talk about what it is that we're kind of doing. So, we had some department meetings over the last semester, the last couple of semesters, the last semester. So, the last couple of months, kind of talking about some of the great things about synchronous courses and some of the things that we found that we were struggling with. And one of the topics that kept coming back up was that the courses seemed to stall out a little bit. Or not even stall out, but sometimes it was like that students, it was almost like they weren't present with us. You would kind of ask a question and you wouldn't get a lot of people replying back to you. So one of the things Corey and I were kind of talking a little bit about this, and we were like, maybe we should talk about, like, wouldn't it be great to kind of get together and, have a session where we talk about things we do to keep a course moving, and then find out what other people do, and kind of just have this great discussion about that. So that's where we where we first got started with this. So we have a little, if you could get ready, watch your screen for a minute. We're going to have a poll pop up. Only as fast as Corey can type here.
Yeah.
It's like Jeopardy waiting. Yeah, Mike, I hear you. I wish they let us save the polls too. One thing I do, because again, and I think I've probably talked about this before, I often, in department meetings, but for those of you who aren't part of our department, I've always talked about I pick up my phone and I kind of snap it on that side. So then, because I kind of write out my polls ahead of time, and sometimes I jump in with them too, as it's just going along. Like if I'm like, it's silent, where is everyone? I can't hear them. I will just pop in there with a poll and be like, all right, are you with me? And I'll write things sometimes that are like, I am with you, comma, Jen, period. And I wait to see if students reply, and I'll be like, all right, they're with me. They're still out there. Because sometimes we have classes, and this, happens on land. Sometimes you have classes that are super chatty, and other classes you
thumbs up thing.
Oh, come with me. And so, same thing with Synchronous. And so those are my classes that I will say I definitely pull up often. And so I do that to kind of like, I'll go to the, where it has the participants list, and I can see if they've answered yes or no, and then I save that. I've used that often too, as kind of a check-in with students too. Like if I'm talking about a topic or we're working on something and I'm not sure that everyone gets it, I'll ask that, and because it comes up, it can tell me if it's yes or no. So that tool down at the bottom where the chat is, if you go over when you're a moderator to the Corey's got the arrow on it where it says participant list. Yeah, the participant list there. What you can see if you've done a poll, what people's responses are. If it's yes or no, or if you have an A, B, C, or D poll. So if you haven't, you should have a poll in the center of your screen.
So just click on yes or no.
Jen, did you just explain where we can see
Yeah.
whether someone has responded to the?
Yep, I did. I'll do it one more time. So, if you are, actually, hang on for a second. Corey, can you go down to the slide that has the screenshots? Hold on for a second, Mike. I'll show you exactly where it is. It freezes after you answer, Lucy. So, hold on for a second. I'll show you exactly where it is. I have a screenshot. Yeah, close that. Sorry guys, we're dealing with a touchy mouse. We got 2 Mac users sitting here using a PC. So, okay, right here. So if you go to where it says on the left side, the share content button, see where there's 2 people and it has right there, it has the 2. If you click on that when you're a moderator, after you've done a poll, next to the person's name, it will show you what they answered on the poll, whether it's a yes or whether it's a no, or if you've done an A, B, C, D poll, it will show you that as well. So I will use those often in classes like a check-in, like I said, something really, really, really simple like this. I am with you, comma, Jen, period. Like it's, you know, to be like if they were responding to me. And I'll get yeses or nos, and that kind of tells me where I think somebody is. If they're catching where we are in the material, if we're not, and it's I kind of equate that a little bit to like the 1-minute paper, where in class you may have asked them to write down for 1 minute what they learned from class, to kind of see if they've gathered it. Well, this gives me some nice checkpoints within the course to know if people are here or there or not. And like I said, I usually pick up my phone and I snap it. And I ahead of time know what areas like I'm asking questions or what polls I might end up using, like kind of with some notes and stuff. And so for me, then I'll know when I go back to my phone with those photos, okay, this was the first one. So it looks like I have a few students that are not with me on this. Let me see how I can make sure I can help those students catch up to where we are with stuff. It's a super great tool for that, and it's super, super easy. And I do tell students, I have to tell you right up front, I tell them that I often, and I've never had a student have a concern about this, I tell them often, you're going to see me pick up my phone because I'm taking this, like, that's the way I work. I'll take a shot of something so then I can go back, so then it can help me better help them later. And we're going to use the whiteboard a little bit later, and that's one area that I also do. I will take a photo of that whiteboard after I've written stuff on it, and then I post that back to the announcements. Later I'll be like, here's a picture of the board from the day we were in class, the same way I do actually in the classroom, because if the student isn't there, like if I'm teaching a land class, I will just take a photo of that, and then they may ask me and be like, here's what we did, here's one of the things we talked about. I outlined this paper in class and I have a board with it.
I've also used polls in class fairly recently, actually, to just gauge information about how students were processing the assignment they were working on. Some students were turning in papers that were short of the minimum, like well short. So I actually polled them with a multiple choice poll to ask them how long the paper was supposed to be, the minimum length. So that actually gave me information about which students misunderstood the basic requirements of the paper, and I reached out to them in email. So I could see exactly who it was that was not aware of the minimum requirement and reach out to them outside of class rather than calling them out in class, which, you know, no one wants that to happen. So,
Awesome.
so I can go back here.
So Corey's gonna make a little shift here, and she's gonna kind of give us an overview of some of the tools. We kind of really talked about polling here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me use the chat. Yep, very much, Lucy. Oh, no, it's on here.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so the tools that I've been using this last semester are really tools right in Blackboard. I kind of have felt like it's enough to learn the system, the learning management system that we already have, rather than asking students to deal sort of outside of the system. I've been trying to really use all of the features in the system. What's not on this list that I rely on a lot now, and it works very, very well, is the discussion board forum, actually, for even really, really short assignments. So,
Sorry, I couldn't get the chat to come up. I was like, Corey, can you help? Okay,
oh,
sorry. No, it's fine, it's fine. Sorry, everyone, sorry.
So polling we talked about, and it is a really nice gauge of a lot of different things. I asked them during the election how many of them were voting, and then gave them an extra credit assignment based on that particular event. The chat feature is really, really good if you want them to share something really, really short about their progress, like even topic ideas or a thesis statement. I've done that. Students populate immediately, so you can have 15 thesis statements, you know, all in a row that you can then take a look at, one or two of them, and actually ask students to respond audibly. So these really tiny tools in here really give you a lot of flexibility in reaching out and grabbing your students during class. It's wonderful. The raise hand feature, I don't use that a lot because a lot of times I'm sharing my screen, so I don't know unless they say something out loud who's actually asking the question. So I have to break with my share screen feature and come back. But I know a lot of people probably really like that feature a whole lot. I watch for mics being turned on. I don't know if you guys do that too. The breakout groups can be really helpful as well. And we found out through experimenting that when you're bringing them back, or if you want to chat with all the groups at once, you can, from the main room, actually populate a chat and it goes to all of the breakout groups at once. It's a nice way to let them know that they're going to be returning to the main screen as well. And then the whiteboard is also a wonderful feature for generating ideas or participating in class type discussions.
So we just, I just asked a question under Corey, because Corey signed in. We're here together. So we just asked a question. This is another great tool that you can use while you are in class, like Corey said, just asking like thesis statements, or just checking in to see how people are doing. At the beginning, we were like, hey, do you like this room? Give us a thumbs up. That's something I do to see if people are with me in class, if they're following along. And sometimes you get real fancy and I'll be like, I need you to give me the crying, laughing face. But, you know, variety along those lines. So curious, what are your favorite tools to use during a synchronous course? Pop in that chat and give us some thoughts. We've got a little bit about chat. We've got breakouts. We've got chat and polling. Chat.
Yeah, it's hard, Lucy. I noticed your comment. It's really hard when you do navigate away, because I don't embed a lot of, like, we embedded the PowerPoint as a shared file for this session. I usually do not do that with my classes because I want the ability to move around a whole lot, that flexibility. So you have to navigate away from this screen entirely. So then you have to come back and break your share to really look. So I do understand that for sure.
Whiteboarding groups. Awesome. Chat and raise hand. 2 screens. Yes, Teresa, I hear you. 2 screens. Absolutely.
That's a great idea.
All right, so we had a request to talk about groups, and we're going to do that. So we're going to get you guys set in some groups so you can see what it's like for those of you who haven't, and then we'll explain how we do that. When you get in those groups, why don't you talk about one thing that's gone well this semester and one thing that hasn't with the synchronous course. And if you haven't taught one, maybe talk about what your fears might be. Sorry, we got this touchy mouse here. Touchy mouse. Yeah. Corey, I need assistance.
You want me to do it? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
I can give it a try. Oh, we're on a clock. I'm not even sure.
See what
where
I
we
said?
are.
I have no idea. I think I clicked on the bottom down there. You just got to click on Blackboard real fast. There you go.
I'm doing the same thing now. Okay. So I'm just going to randomize groups. And then the theme again, Jen.
Is we're going to have one thing that has gone well this semester and maybe one thing that hasn't. We'll give you a little bit of time to talk with your groups. When you come back, we're going to show you right where it is for those of you who haven't done the groups. And we'll give you a little bit of a countdown. We'll send a chat so then you'll know how much time you have left.
Oops. Here, let me reduce it a little more. Okay. So we're going to start here, and I'll set a timer. What do you think? Like for 3 minutes or
3
so?
minutes.
Okay. I should probably start it, right?
Yep.
sitting in their bedroom, you know.
Yeah. Right.
I get that. But
So everybody's
having been
reaching
forced.
road now.
You gotta mute all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hate that.
All of a sudden you're back, the
Surprise.
Twilight Zone. Ah! Like that's how it feels. Yeah, absolutely. That's how it feels coming back. Okay, so the group chat, Lucy, all you have to do is go to the chat where it says everyone. Just type
Oh,
it in.
really?
Everyone gets it.
Oh, I never knew that. Oh my gosh, that's so great.
And
Okay.
then you could also do a chat for group. So you could go in if you've got them in a group and you can select group and then chat just that group or an individual person too.
Oh, wow. Okay. And where do you find the groups? Like in the two, where the two people thing is down there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. That's
Um,
awesome.
So let's explain how to use the chat. Do you want to try presenters or what do you want to try? If you're afraid, it's okay. We'll go down to the others. Advance the slide. So, okay, so we're going to advance the slide here for a second. On this spot, where it says interact and it has those breakout groups, if you click there, okay, it will then give you an option to put together groups by randomized or I don't know what the other word they use. Amber, what's the other word they use? Do you remember? Amber, what's the word they use? Maybe we'll look. Hold on. Randomly assigned or custom assignment. There's the word. Okay, so assign groups, random assign or custom assign, and then it asks you what number of groups you want. And underneath it, what's really great is it tells you you could have one group of 4 attendees or 4 groups of 3 attendees. And you can put them in there. You can also, after they've been there, if you wanted everyone to switch up after a certain amount of time, you could shuffle people up within the groups. You can move them around, and you as an instructor can keep moving yourself to other groups as well. One thing, and I don't know if those of you who've used groups have experienced this, but I find that my students often are way more chatty in the groups than they are in the main session with everyone. So raise your hand if you've experienced that. The raised hand is on the center at the bottom. No problem, Amber, no problem. Sorry about that. Yeah, way more chatty. And most of you have agreed with that. That raised the hand for those of you if you're not aware is in the center at the bottom. Can you put yourself in a group to start out? Oh, yeah, because you can, what you can do, Lucy, is there's a spot when it says assign groups underneath it. You can click include moderators and group assignments. Yes, and if you click that, it will take everyone and put everyone in the groups. So there is that option too. Welcome. All right. Yeah, so we want to put it on the whiteboard. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. The next one we're going to try it. Oh, hey, Chris, give me a thumbs up if that helped. Lucy, did you have a question? All right, cool. Thanks, Christine. Awesome, thank you. Yes, sometimes I think there is a little bit of feedback, but you know what? It's kind of like this. We're just dealing with it. It's what life is like right now, constant interruptions, so just we go with it. But I do know it is hard sometimes with the feedback. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring up the whiteboard, and we would like you to share on the whiteboard what you guys talked about. We'll make a nice little collage here.
So you can click on the T to type your text, or you can, obviously you can draw on your keypad too.
Mike, do you have a question? Yes.
That comment. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not just like a whiteboard you can use too, but you can
Yeah, I always have students do this. It's so fun.
brainstorm on it.
And messy and good.
Like one way Corey and I talk about like using this in class is I like to use this when we're talking about topic ideas and asking students to write up topic ideas.
Definitely.
And they kind of get into it and it's great. One other way that I like using this in class is I like to often put up the outline of an essay. And I'll just start moving it and putting it up like as if it was a whiteboard in class. And I was standing up and doing it. First time using whiteboard, all right. You're doing it. Yeah, participants can do it, Lucy. You do not have to be a moderator or a presenter.
Yeah, it's really easy. All you have to do is click on it and they have access.
Yep. And so, Lucy, like I was saying, like Corey and I like to do this to have students put up topic ideas for essays. I give them, you know, like a list for some of them, and some of them I just like to say, well, let's talk about them. What kind of things would be good? And then one thing I like, oh, you have an image up. That's great. Chris said that she puts an image up and they have to label the anatomy on it.
Now, I didn't know you could do that with the whiteboard. That's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's very cool.
And then one thing for me, I like to do when I'm done is I like to take a photo of it and then I will save it to the announcements on Blackboard and be like, here's.
You know what, Mike? That's a question I have too. How do you put an image up?
I have noticed that when I have a PowerPoint up, I can draw on that, so maybe they can too?
Mm-hmm. Share file.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I just snap a photo, put it up there. And I told students all, like when I start with the classes at the beginning of the semester, I'm like, I'm a picture girl. I will take a picture of something and then I go back to it because I'm very visual. And I was like, you're going to see me doing that left and right in here to save things. You put up the PowerPoint image and they can write on it. That's great, Chris.
Yeah, that's really
And screenshots. You're right, Lucy. Screenshots would work too. Teresa, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, instead of, okay, and I know what the point was to work with whiteboard, but when we had those group sessions that we just did and we did our discussion, can't you share everyone's chat with the group? Everyone instead of just our group, you know how you asked us to write what we discussed on the whiteboard? Can't you just share our chats within our group? Does that make sense?
no, like their chat that they have in their individual group. I mean, not that I know. Amber.
So were you guys orally talking or were you typing as a chat?
We were chatting. We were typing as a chat.
Oh, you were typing as a chat. Oh, nice. That's a good question. Let's see, Amber, if you know the question that if they were in the groups and they were typing in the chat, can we share that with everyone? Go to the up at the top of the everyone.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
No.
It looks like the groups are gone.
Once it looks like oh yes, copy and paste into everyone chat room. Okay, so Amber says if you're doing it in the group, then copy and paste it into the everyone chat. Thanks, Amber.
I just learned something new.
I know, right? Wonderful, you guys taught us some new stuff today too. Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So you can share what they discussed.
All right, so the next thing we want to take a look at is if we go back to our PowerPoint, I want to show you, we have on here a way to integrate, like what it might look like in a class plan.
So since we've been diving into synchronous teaching, I have found, and some of you may have experienced this too, when I navigate away from this Blackboard screen, because I am using one computer screen, when I navigate away to share something, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to the ether. So one of the things that I'm finding that I'm doing very differently is that I am not talking for long periods of time ever. Even if I'm in the classroom, it's just so easy to see if they're still with you or not if you're introducing new material. In my synchronous class, I never do that because I feel like the minute I sort of navigate away, I don't know where they are. Could they be doing dishes or, leave the room for a minute? And sometimes that happens and they'll let me know in the chat if they need to do that, but if they need to get up and move. So what I've started doing when I plan my classes now, I actually plan with really specific interactive things in mind, like interactive check-ins. So this slide kind of previews how I would think of some of those and almost how I would space them out in my classes. And it all has to do with the Blackboard tools. So I might start, like my plan here was from election day. So I started with a poll. And they are so active in social media that they love being active in classes with things that are simple, like polling and especially with chatting. So they are more than willing to participate that way. And I'm finding one day I was talking to Jen after class and I said, oh my gosh, I actually counted up the amount of times I checked in on them and made them do something. And it was like 7 or 8 times in a little over an hour-long class. So it's like making sure that they're always with you. And even little things like a poll here, using the chat here, then asking them to follow up and talk about something. So always just checking in constantly. So I'm seeing that I'm planning my classes a little differently for synchronous learning.
Okay. I think that's super helpful for you thinking about it. Like I love how you have it everything. Mine's a little more like not so typed up, like jotted down stuff. But I do love your typed up. So I think one of the best things is thinking about how you can use these. And one thing I noticed too is I like to change it up a lot too to see if the students are like following me and actually paying attention. Because if I'm like, give me a thumbs up, and I'm waiting, and it's like everyone sees someone else thumbing up, they're like, oh wait, we better thumb up. So, you can kind of gauge where someone is with you within the course too. And I think that's super great on that level, but also, Kathleen had a question. She said, how do you follow up with students who are not checking in? Do you deduct points, for example? So I put that out to the group. What do you guys do?
Yeah.
What do you all do? Am I calling them a couple deduct points, address them by name and say, are they with you? Oh, there we go. Or report them to the proper authorities. Well, we knew you would, Mike. We knew you would. From my perspective, what I end up doing is it depends on what we're doing. If we're doing an activity that's being worked on in class, and they earn points for doing said activity, like some things are activity things and some things are not. Like I would, sometimes be like, oh, okay, well, you didn't participate in said activity. And so I wouldn't give points for that. A lot of times students will come back to me and they'll be like, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you I was doing such and such or whatever. And I always have makeup assignments for every little assignment too, because ultimately I want them to do the work. So, and I'll let them go back and do it. And when it has happened with students, they come back and they're very present from that point forward. And I want to mention Mike's here in a minute, but yeah, I try to be like, hey, or a lot of times I'll send them a direct chat. So that's something else you can do. If you go up to where it has on the chat and you have everyone, you can choose someone's name and just send them a direct chat. I will do that and say, hey, you haven't been with us for a while. Are you, okay, what's, going on? A lot of times I will get a response. Sometimes I don't. Mike said that he has marked them late for being non-responsive. Kathleen said, I do an activity and submit it during class, but I noted that the students wait until towards the end of the class time to join so they can submit. The work is usually subpar, so I give points based on quality. Lori says instructors sometimes ask me to pop in for a while. Oh, Lori, are you in surgical? I can't. Yeah, so you would pop in and students might be like, oh, more with, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, okay. So, yeah, that's great, Lori, that's great.
Yeah, Kathleen, I found that I had one class day and it was early in the semester and I had a group activity planned, but they didn't know that, we just came into the class that day to do breakout groups in a particular activity. As soon as I mentioned that that's what we were doing next, like 3 of them said, oh, well, I'm driving to such and such a place, or I'm unavailable to participate in a group setting right now, those kinds of things. So I had to kind of the next class reset us all to remind them that they're expected to be in class and active every class day that we meet, that you can't take the class, a synchronous class, kind of on the fly or driving somewhere. And it did kind of change the tune of the class a lot. So it helped. So sometimes those kinds of reminders, I think they need, just to kind of understand how the course is being delivered.
Kathleen?
I did note that once I started having sessions in which they had to submit their active learning work, that participation in a sense of their sticking around in the class was better. So
Yeah, I think,
what I've been doing has been successful. It's not perfect, but it has helped.
yeah, and I think some things too, like this, thinking about starting next semester, and I had the unique opportunity of, I have a 16-week synchronous course, and then I started teaching an 8-week synchronous course. And so for me, all the things that didn't happen in that 16-week course that I was like, isn't really going the way I wanted to, I made sure that, and I had a really good conversation with that class when they started. And I put something in my syllabus that those of you who are in humanities, we were talking about in the department meeting that Diane had and put together, which I can share with the participants on here if you want. Our department's gonna has some suggestions for things to put in your syllabus that talks about what a synchronous class is like. Like, it's like being in a classroom. You need to be able to participate. You need to be able to do these things. It's not a get on whenever you want to. So I'm happy to send that to those of you. I will take a screenshot of those of you who are in under the participant list and send that to you. So I think that's one thing I noticed is that more upfront, like you said, Corey, when you had to reset everyone, then they're like, okay, yep, absolutely, we'll do. So yeah, like I say, here's what I said, and this 8-week class that I had is rocking. They come every day. They're ready to go. They are like on those. They are on those polls and chats like white on rice. They are really, really into it. Yeah, Jody, go ahead.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt. It's just easier for me to voice it than type it. I had noticed that Corey had mentioned about in synchronous classes, you had to remind them that they actually had to be in class in front of the computer, etc. Do any of you instructors have like a percentage of your syllabus that is like 10% based on attendance or anything like that? Or is that not really a thing here at all?
Mine is based more on participation, Jody. So, if we're doing an activity in class, I expect them to do it. And that's kind of more of how I gauge their interaction.
Okay, so like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But so like, say a student misses 6 classes, that may or may not affect their grade, but then you follow up and maybe find out why they missed 6 classes, or in the syllabus it might say there's 18 classes this semester. If you miss 4, your grade goes down 5%. You don't have any of that, any of you?
Mine's not as
No.
derivative as that kind of a policy, actually. So mine would be based upon points that are attached to their overall grade from the class.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's why I try to embed those activities in individual classes. Yeah.
Like the participation is about doing the activity during class. I want to scroll back up to something Teresa said, like she was talking about recording her classes because they get distracted and stuff. Absolutely. I record them too. I actually am recording all my land classes at the same time as well because I had students in and out. And even if no one tells me they need to do remotely for that day, I've still recorded it in case somebody hasn't been there. And I think that that's one thing, like what you were saying with Teresa, there's a lot of interruptions. Like there's been times I've been teaching and my kids have come home and they're like, and the gate has been open and they're running into the screen or whatever, kind of thing. And like, definitely. And that's one thing when I worked with this 8-week class that I said, I was like, I understand that interruptions happen. It's a 3-hour class and I'll be like, I understand sometimes you might need to take a break in the middle of what you need to do. Tell me, let me know that you are needing to move away. And that has really like cut down on that too.
They usually will tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I got to run off. Like I had someone the other day tell me how they had someone coming. They needed a plumber to come. And so they were like, so when my plumber gets here, and they got up and forgot to turn off their mic. And it was a good laugh for the moment when they got up. But yes, absolutely. Like there is a lot of interruptions, but I think it's the more we tell the students to communicate with us, that I think that helps a lot too.
Yeah. Kathleen had mentioned, and Lucy too had mentioned, giving students in-class assignments to work on, and I like to do that too. But I found that accountability comes in those sessions when they do have to submit something during class, and like you can follow up with them about it during class. So I really tried to make sure whatever I'm asking them to do during class, they will actually submit before the session ends rather than having it continue after. And I found that's really helpful too. So I noticed, Kathleen, you have deadlines like that right in class time.
Susan had a question, and then I think Kathy had her hand up, so we need to go roll back. Susan said, when you record, does the recording just stay in the session for them to refer to? What happens is that if you go into Blackboard, actually, do you want to share the screen? Hold on, Corey's going to share the screen here, and we'll show you exactly where it is. Susan, I put a link that, like a tab on the outside that says class recordings, and I tell them how to get to it. And so, yeah. So if you go to Blackboard, yeah, go ahead.
Where?
Oh,
Right here?
you can use it
Oh,
there.
okay, gotcha.
And then, okay, as it comes up on this side where the three lines are, right there, if you click there, recordings. And I just tell my students how to get there, and then it labels the recording based on the day and how long it started and ended. And I let them know they can go there.
Yeah.
If they missed, or if they got distracted, or if they had to get up, or they had to.
And they're retained the whole semester, I believe. I don't think there's.
I believe they are. It's the semester. Amber, if you're with us and we're wrong, let us know. Hold on, sorry, mouse difficulties. Kathy, you had your hand up a while ago.
I don't do this in every class, but in many classes, I will say to them, if you don't come to class, I'm going to leave your Blackboard, and you have an excuse. I just leave the Blackboard space for that date blank. But I tell them, if they don't want to come to class, they don't have to. They just can't get an A or a B if they don't come to class, because we do participation stuff every class period. And you can't get participation points if you're not in class. And I find students come, but I tell them it's a reward, not a cudgel. Doesn't work in every class, by the way, but the other thing is I'm real strict on it in public speaking, because some students think once they've given their speech, they don't have to come to the next couple classes because other people are giving their speech. And since they have to review speeches, I give them zeros on those days if they don't come. And that hurts their grade. So that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Janine said something that she said she sends documents prior to class so they have copies and she can use the screen for other things. Nice. I think we've caught all the chats. You're welcome. Jody, in case those of you who don't know, is an advisor in the School of Liberal Arts. He's the lead advisor. Any other questions? Comments? So do you, you are most welcome. So do you, if you enjoyed teaching Synchronous, give us a smiley face in the chat area.
Oh, the session, not actually teaching.
So for those of you who are teaching synchronously, would you do it again?
Raise your hand if you'd do it again. Yes, yes. Good.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, Diane, yes, it's nice to hear from other schools too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Teresa, I'm with you. Me too. Land best. I like my land stuff too. I hear ya.
Yeah. Jody, that's really nice to hear. The students are giving you positive feedback about synchronous classes. Have they made particular comments about
Totally.
the classes they're taking?
It wasn't necessarily specific courses, but because I see so many students per day, but I can't remember a negative comment yet that was specific to the fact that it was synchronous. I think that they have caught on very well, and the students like the structure of it. Now, could there be students that like land-based classes better than online? Yes, I'm one of them, but I don't put my personal opinion in it. So now, if we had synchronous classes back when I went to school, that would have been my choice over the traditional method because I like the structure of it. And the students that I talked to have said pretty much the same thing, where you get the benefit of still being at your house or wherever you're at, but you still have the instructor in front of you and your classmates in front of you without being in a classroom.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that. Christine, did you have a question or comment?
It might have been when I asked you. It's a very good question.
Yeah, it
Only
is.
time will tell us, Kathleen. Only time will tell us if we'll continue the SWD after the pandemic.
And I said two people.
Synchronous web delivery.
Okay. That way.
That's the way the college officially terms it.
How's that sound?
That's what I'm thinking, Diane.
I do too, Diane. Diane says she thinks they're here to stay. So this was wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Such a great session. I'm so glad to have you all. We had a great time.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, thank you all for sharing.
I know, he's a weirdo, Dad.
Thank you.
We hope you all have a really great conclusion to the semester and a nice break afterward.
I'm letting you know beforehand. So
Yeah, and the other thing's gonna be that you got quarantined because somebody in your classes tested positive for COVID. And